Hello everyone, I'm Jack, and welcome to episode 44 of the Save File podcast. Today, we'll be discussing Sony's state of plays from their Japan studios, as well as Hogwarts Legacy gameplay, Witcher 4 being announced, and nerfs in single-player games. Joining me is Anf. How you going, Anf?
Pretty good, man.
What you been playing?
I've been playing Ever Oasis on the 3DS. It's an Animal Crossing-like game with RPG combat and all that. Pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty fun.
Next on the docket is Charbs. How you going?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
What you been playing?
Katana Zero on my Switch, actually.
Oh, you got 2 Switch games. Oh, there you go.
I'm telling you, I play my Switch more than I play my PC or my PlayStation, to be honest.
Mine sits dormant for a while, and then nothing gets played. And last but not least is Josh.
Howdy!
What have you been playing?
I've been playing Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins.
There you go. Alright guys, well, I think biggest sort of news, everything that's happened, is Hogwarts Legacy finally getting some gameplay for that. It's probably one of the most anticipated games of the year. It's, for many of us, part of our childhood. Even if you're a casual fan, you'd probably go on to see some of the movies with your friends, you know. And games in that universe are always big because you just have this massive fandom who will buy the game regardless, even if they're not gamers.
Yeah.
So what did we all think of what we were actually shown off?
Can I go first with this? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
It's currently in my watch later on YouTube, and I haven't seen it. That's my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Did one job.
I work, I come home, and I
Podcast
sleep.
comes around every 2 weeks.
I think that the first game was designed by a 10-year-old.
What do you mean the first game?
It's Iron Man, but also it's
Wait,
dinosaurs.
aren't we talking about Hogwarts Legacy?
Are we talking about Hogwarts Legacy
That's
first?
literally what I said, Josh.
Oh my god!
I'm glad Josh has been listening to me.
Can we start again?
No, we're not starting again.
No,
What
starting
are you
again.
talking
Hell no.
Hogwarts Legacy?
I'm leaving this in there that you literally just don't listen to my
How
intro.
dare you! I looked down for a second.
Apparently when Jack talks, nobody listens.
Don't
What?
worry, I listen to you, Jack.
Alright, I'm probably the only one that's actually watched the thing.
Okay, you know what?
I've
I
watched
take
it.
it. You know, I stand by it. Hogwarts Legacy would be improved if it had robots and dinosaurs in it.
Look, it wouldn't hurt it. I don't think. I'll be real.
Would it hurt Harry Potter at this point?
Yeah, they look at the robotic dinosaurs and go, "They're the fucking Muggles again."
Can you imagine? Wait.
This shit.
Plot twist. The Muggles.
Harry Potter and the animatronic T-Rex.
The Muggles created robotic dinosaurs to fight the wizards.
Hold on.
I
So
swear
does
that's a
Jurassic
fanfic
Park
somewhere.
technically take place in the Harry Potter universe?
I
We're
can't
really
see
cutting
why
into
it
deep lore
couldn't.
here. You're really cutting into deep lore here.
I mean,
I don't
technically,
know if it's fanfic or deep lore.
everything that happened on Earth happens in the Harry Potter universe.
And Jurassic Park did technically happen on Earth.
What
Pretty much.
happens in the Harry Potter universe stays in the Harry Potter
You know what?
universe.
You know what? I want to know? Has anyone's Patronus ever actually been a dinosaur?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
No, hold on. This is one of J.K. Rowling's famous tweets. Where apparently someone
So
fucking
we're
summoned
actually
a
not
mammoth
really
or
sure
something.
how canon it is.
But Jack,
Well, I mean, like, it's the author saying so I guess it's canon?
Jack, to expand on what you just said, you know, the wizards are so racist, they just don't give a fuck what happens in our world.
That actually is true. That is half
that's
of
not
the Harry Potter
entirely
conflicts.
false. It's not a friendly universe.
And while we're on the
Yeah.
topic of what Josh said, J.K. Rowling has said some stuff that's not very canon to real life. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I know. But she's in charge of the Harry
Okay.
Potter
She's
world.
also said some not cash money things that we do not endorse.
Not.
What are you talking about?
not
We
canon.
are
Not
not
cash
diving
money.
into that
That's an
rabbit hole.
interesting way to describe it.
No, that is a
This is
rabbit
an
hole this
interesting way
podcast
to
doesn't
describe
need.
it.
Yeah, we're not going there. Hell no.
No, I feel like alienating our audience is J.K. Rowling cash money.
Do you reckon any? Do you reckon?
Hang on, then the next segment, bonus segment.
Do you reckon anyone in Harry Potter actually listened to hip hop and rap?
Yeah.
Like, there's just.
No.
I mean, they listen to rock.
Like, yeah, we
they don't- they're not
rock,
allowed to have
we know
any
rock
technology.
canonically exists in Harry Potter, but like, Do you reckon like there's just one wizard who's bumping Tupac and Biggie still?
I reckon Cho's secretly, you know.
Oh, Charles.
Charles, but do you think
Right.
there's like a group that goes on their brooms and does like drive-bys with their brooms?
We're asking the real questions, JK.
Do they?
Joanne.
Do you reckon
Yeah.
like you know how you can't have like window tinting below a certain like point? Do you reckon they do that for like the end of the broom? Like the end of the broom can't be like below a certain like darkness or something?
That level, it can't be a right angle.
You know what I want to know is how do they make brooms that go faster though? Because like when Harry buys a Nimbus 2000, not buys, when he's gifted a Nimbus 2000, they tell him, they're like, oh, it's the fastest model out right now. Like, can you put a turbocharger on a broom?
I think that
Pick
the
my
explanation would
broomstick.
be... The explanation would just be, like, it's made out of better stuff, so they could put, like, better magic on it without it exploding.
Honestly, the proper thing to say is, oh yeah, V6.
Get a V6 engine in this broom. This broom is packing.
But yeah, also there's different. I'm thinking of it like there's different wands and stuff. So you know, and they're made out of different like woods and whatever, and they enchant them and whatever. So you know, maybe that brooms are a big wand stick, really.
One of my favorite
heard it here
skits on
first.
YouTube is from a really old comedy group called The Message, and they do a thing where they do Hogwarts, but it's in the ghetto, and like
Oh no, is this like the public school?
yeah, and they're like. One of the kids is like, at Hogwarts, they think they're bad because they have mudbloods. And he plays a little clip for Harry Potter where Draco's like, you filthy little mudblood. It's like, we got mudbloods, mud crips, and mud Latin kings. And they're all just fucking beefing with each other. It's like, and the school's called Buster's School of Magic Tricks.
Buster's School for Magic.
Oh, what the fuck?
Wow, we have gone very off topic. We haven't said a thing about the game.
Yeah, we should probably talk about Hogwarts Legacy.
Topic in a very long time.
Okay.
No, not with the first topic. Anyway.
Now, before we go off again,
Should
what's
anything
everyone's
Harry
thoughts
Potter related?
on the Harry Potter State of Play?
I'll start off.
Go ahead, Ant. Let us off.
So far, I'm interested in it, like really interested, but I'm also kind of iffy because I look at the combat. I'm like, is it gonna be like you press one button and you spam spells willy-nilly, or you just assign them to buttons and you can use them tactically?
I think it looks like you can like mix and match them. Like it doesn't look like the way they talked about it is you'd have ownership on how you want to fight and do stuff.
Yeah,
And I feel like there's probably ways to like spec into them, I suppose, for the want of a better term.
like I don't think a button masher suits the Harry Potter sort of like. You know what I mean, right?
No,
Yeah.
button mashing wouldn't work. But like choosing your spells and like going, oh, that guy's coming near me. Let me use a blast spell, or let me throw a fireball at one guy to put him out of action for a while, and then move on to the next guy. Like I feel like tactically doing that would make a lot of sense.
Let's be honest. If we were given the option to spam Abracadabra, we would.
That would be OP. That would not work very well.
Or Reducto.
You know what they never...
Can you use the unforgivable curses? Do they teach you
Oh,
that
you know
at
what?
school?
That-
I'm
I
pretty
wanna-
sure Avada Kedavra is in it.
That is taught in the school though, because remember in book 4 where Maddow goes, there are 3 unforgivable curses, and he shows what they do to a spider.
Yeah, but wait, wasn't he like a Death Eater in disguise?
Yeah, I think that was actually the Death Eater though, so I don't know how.
So
No,
wasn't
but-
the whole point
but-
that like
Don't
there's
know if
something wrong with
everyone's
him?
taught that.
No, but the actual Moody would
Because he
have
was-
to teach them that.
Yeah, but surely you'd get taught like, hey, there are 3 spells we're not going to tell you how to use, right? They're illegal.
Yes. They probably wouldn't then demonstrate. Listen, you don't get taught firearm safety with the teacher randomly spraying into the classroom.
What?
Hang on, this is Harry Potter. They do things differently.
What was the guy who disguised himself as Moody? What was his name?
Barty
Harry
Crouch
Bunty
Jr.,
No-
I think.
Oh wait, no, that's a fucking YouTuber.
What was it? He's one of the Well, we know too much about Harry Potter.
Hey, I
mean,
grew up
But
on
apparently not enough about the gameplay. God damn it!
Okay, how
What
many of
gameplay?
us actually watched the State of Play for it?
Me and Ant,
I watched it and Jack did.
Ant and I.
I did watch it, to be fair, and then I got confused which one we were talking about, despite hearing the words Harry Potter and State of Play in the same sentence.
Harry Potter and the State of Play.
So really, this is Sony's fault for doing 2 State of Plays in between our podcasts.
Yeah, fuck Sony for showing us a lot of good upcoming games.
Yeah, be like Nintendo. Do one direct every 5 months and we'll lose our minds.
Yeah. You know, like... No, I'm not. Anyway, I think they showed off way more content than I thought would be in this. Like, there's so many different classes you can go to. You can go interact with animals. You can go play Quidditch. You can literally go learn to fly your broomstick. And obviously, if you want to be efficient, like a good gamer, you'll probably go and make sure you can ride a broomstick properly for fast travel purposes.
That's a total gamer move.
The total gamer move is to master the broomstick.
Or you learn phasing, whatever that thing is that Dumbledore does.
If you're a gamer, you should know how to use a wand.
But
I want to know, do I get a time turner to go past the crappy...
Can I skip levels?
The one crappy mechanic I did see, which was that they have timers on like brewing potions and stuff. So it's like, oh, you brewed a potion, there's a 5-minute wait now.
Do the faces to you look a bit off though? I mean, it's still in development, so they can probably improve on it. But doesn't it look a little bit? I can't explain it, but it's not bad, but like I kind of like it, but it's just I don't know.
I like the graphics. I don't love them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the face is part of that. I think it's also a little bit of the art style they've chosen. It doesn't. I think we're used to these very highly polished games of late with some of the stuff that's come out, e.g. Elden Ring. And this looks on the lower end of the spectrum. I'll be real, it doesn't look like a next-gen game. It looks like something you could put out towards the end of last gen.
It doesn't help that
I'm
most
gonna
games
support
that came out on the PS5 came out on the PS4 too.
I'm going to support
it's kind
my
of hard to tell
theory on that, the fact that it's also coming to the Switch.
Yeah, can I just
Switch.
say something, right? And I want to beat Anf to saying
Seems
this.
a bit weird.
But can I just say that Hogwarts Legacy coming to the Switch as like a proper game makes the Kingdom Hearts collection look like garbage for being cloud versions?
Yeah, no. I agree with you
like,
completely. It's ridiculous.
Wait, I was actually going to ask, did we have it confirmed that it's not a cloud version, or do we just know that it's coming to the Switch?
It's coming.
We just know it's coming to the Switch.
That's all.
So in theory, it could be a cloud version.
Oh, okay. I read somewhere that it was like, I think Anf had told me that it was actually coming to the Switch, and I think I got the impression that it was like gonna be like properly on the Switch and not a cloud version. Can I just say, right, cloud versions for the Switch are a terrible fucking purchase.
Oh, look, we could go down the cloud version.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, because I think we've done it on a previous episode with the Kingdom Hearts.
We did.
We really did.
But, for the love of God, public service announcement for this episode, do not buy a game if on the Switch if it's the cloud version.
Just don't
So
buy
actually,
cloud versions at all.
So, I just looked it up. They said that we don't have any more details right now, except to confirm that yes, Hogwarts Legacy is coming to the Switch. And they were asked whether or not it was cloud-based or run natively. So, yeah. It could be cloud-based. If it's cloud-based, don't buy it. But then on the same token, I'm like, if it's not cloud-based, that makes me think that they've had to suck a little bit of it back, or it's going to run terribly on the Switch.
If anything, the best way to play it is probably going to be both the PS5 and PC.
Look, I'm
Switch all the way, boys.
I'm more confident on new consoles, to be honest, given Elden Ring's issues with PC.
Yeah, true.
Certain CD Projekt Red games issues on the last gen hardware.
Can someone just refresh my memory? Who's actually developing Hogwarts Legacy?
Avalanche Studios.
Oh,
You're telling me J.K. Rowling isn't there typing it
and
up right now?
J.K. Rowling is coding it?
She's sitting there in her Nazareth mud hut. typing away.
You know how you can turn your Arc in Arc, you can turn your feces fucking counter to 0. She's probably gonna do that for the code.
Oh my god.
Fucking wizards shit their pants and then they wizard it away. Don't need to go to the toilet. Remember that in canon? Thanks, JK.
Oh dear.
No, I was about to say that too, Anf, that should be a mechanic.
What
Every time you need to take a shit, you do it on the ground. And then
Shittiest disappearious.
Let me draw us back a little bit.
The stool
I
is
did
full.
like that. At least seemed like they were going to try and reward you for going around and exploring, and to try and get some power boosts and stuff. And you know, if you like, it's going to be a lengthy game if you want to go and explore and do everything, and that gives me some hope rather than just like having a romp through, I don't know, a 5-hour story where it's all very much. You're not making much of your own decisions and it's just very linear. Because I think the games can sort of use a little bit of that. For the scope that they're going, I think it's good that it seems like there's lots to do. And I think it will help it stand out because Hogwarts, or Harry Potter games in general, have had mixed results.
Yeah.
Which is why I was very hesitant on this game. And I still think it's my title that I could most see not being received well because of that this year, just because it's so hard to pull games of this magnitude off.
Yeah, especially we got like bangers at the start of the year like Horizon and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But with it like Hogwarts Legacy, I'll admit that their animations are pretty on point. Like with like the spell casting and stuff, they've got the choreography from the movies like pretty down pat.
Oh, looks, yeah.
Like
the spell flinging animations did look really cool and made me feel like, oh yeah, you're gonna feel like a wizard playing this game. Like, that seemed pretty cool.
I know I'm petty for this though, but I still don't know why I think seeing a wizard doing a dodge roll is fucking weird.
That's very funny.
Look, it probably is weird, but at the same time, what else are they gonna do?
Could you imagine doing a dodge roll in a cloak?
Yeah, these guys are wizards. I don't think they're like the most fittest people on the earth. They use magic for everything. You think they do PE?
Can you imagine how...
I mean, the same token, you can probably get rid of very bad, unhealthy things very quickly as a wizard. So, you know.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you know
fair
what?
enough.
Like,
Yeah.
most of the like wizards and witches in the Harry Potter series, not a lot of them are fat when you think about it. Like, a lot of them are in shape
No.
a lot. You know what? If you actually watch...
Or they're shamed for being fat if they
But you know what's funny? You know the action scenes in Harry Potter? A lot of that, right, it like a dodge roll fits into that. Because they're always ducking and weaving behind cover. Harry Potter could be a cover-based shooter, in all honesty.
Weren't the movie games like that towards the end?
I never played the...
were
I mean, yeah, they really were. You say you didn't watch the later ones?
Who, me? No, I've
Yeah.
seen all of them. And I've read, like, half the books.
Okay. I thought for a sec, because I know how big of a fan you are, I thought for a sec you said you didn't watch the later movies. Like, wait a minute.
That doesn't sound
No,
very
I
right.
know, I never played the later games. I think the last game I played was...
Oh, the later games. Okay.
I think the last Harry Potter game I played was Prisoners of Azkaban on the PS2.
Chamber of Secrets was the last one I played. That was
I don't
weird.
even know. I wouldn't even guess.
I
But
couldn't
can
even,
I
like,
just
tell
say
you
that
the
the
last Harry
best
Potter
piece of
game I
Harry
played.
Potter media, and you can look this up on YouTube, is Harry Potter and the Chamber is Loaded, where they just replaced the wands with guns. It is the best, like, 5 minutes that you will see. It's literally Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and it just replaces the wands with guns. And my favourite moment in that is, you know the scene in the first movie where Hermione pulls out her wand when she notices Harry's glasses are broken? And she goes, Oculus repair it. There's one where she pulls out, like, a snub-nosed revolver and she just shoots him in the head. Oh my god. Honestly, go watch it. It's fantastic.
I also like that one article where Robert Pattinson, who played Cedric Diggory, says that he holds his wand like a rifle in the movies. Apparently.
Yeah.
It does.
Which, you know, to be honest, if you think about it for a second, Harry Potter is just fucking a western with like magic.
What?
Instead of
magic
guns, it's...
Yeah.
Okay, this is cursed. We need to move on.
You're not
Okay.
wrong. I do think let's move us on to the Now, Josh, do you remember another state of play that happened?
I can't, Jack, you know what? Can't think of it.
God damn it! The other state of play that Sony had. Our dear Overlord-
Clinton, can you cut my reaction from his original thing and put it
No.
We're answering on
Dearest
behalf of
overlords
Clinton,
at
who's
Sony.
editing this.
Yes. Go on, do me a solid.
So they showed off a few different things, like Ghostwire Tokyo, which is coming out this week.
It's got
New
it
Returnal
got
update.
reviewed.
Got reviewed. Mixed reviews. We'll see how that goes when everyone gets their hands on it. And a very interesting new Capcom game called Exoprimal, which first looking at this trailer, I compared it to Epic's Paragon with Anthem's exosuits for characters. Like, it's
Yeah,
totally
I saw the,
it's Paragon's art style to a T, and then it's got different exosuits for characters like support, tank class, and DPS class. But one of my favourite things people described it as, so all the enemies, instead of being zombies like in World War Z, they're all dinosaurs. So it's just World War Z with exosuits and dinosaurs. I'm like,
That
"Alright,
sounds
I'm
amazing."
sold."
Everyone thought it was going to be
That
Dino
sounds
Crisis too.
That's
They
what
were
I...
like,
A
I
lot of
literally
people thought it
said
was
that
Dino
as I was
Crisis.
watching it. I'm like, wow, is this a new Dino Crisis?
Everyone
thought it was
thought
Turok.
that.
I've got to be honest here. I saw the Anthem suits and got immensely worried.
It's like,
It's like, oh, last time I was excited for anything robot suit related, it didn't work out.
I'll be honest, it looks really cool, and this is not what I was expecting. Look, go succeed. I don't know. Looks cool.
where's Dragon's Dogma 2?
Never.
Where's Dragon's Dogma 2?
Can I just say
Capcom?
that state of play as a whole gets a 1 out of 10 for me for one reason. Sony said...
Okay, I was going to probably give it a 1 out of 10 anyway. It wasn't the greatest stuff.
Yeah, I didn't like it very much.
So,
Nah,
it gets a
kinda
1 out
boring.
of 10 simply because there was no Ape Escape remake.
You know what, Charbel? I'm 100%
You know what bothered
with
me
you on this.
so much, right, was Sony said this state of play was going to be focused on Japanese publishers. I had a very slim glimmer of hope. I'm like, you know what, Sony's Japanese. Maybe they'll show something they're publishing. And then I was scrolling through Twitter just before it started, because I woke up a little bit before it started. And one of Press Start's editors had posted something like, the Ape Escape energy is real, and he put a gif of the desert game. So I'm like, it's gotta be Ape Escape now,
no.
please give me Ape Escape. And it just didn't fucking show up. And I was like, oh well, that sucks.
That's damn.
Yeah.
Dude, like,
Is there anything else that people actually really liked from this state of play? Like, Exoprimal, I think, was the big thing, because it was sort of the new thing.
You're gonna
yeah,
hear this
Square's
first.
making Valkyria Chronicles again.
You're gonna hear this first from me, like hearing it now. Look, you know I love my JRPGs. I play them all the time. But those are some generic ass looking fucking JRPGs.
Gotta be honest, fan, that's pretty mid.
Are you talking about the Direfeld Chronicle? Or Direfield, sorry?
Yeah, and the new Valkyria, and I'm just like, man,
Valkyria
like the Valkyria one, like, you know, it's made by Tri-Ace, and that's the most Tri-Ace looking fucking game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this doesn't feel new. This feels like I've played 4 of them.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, like, man, I'm not really excited for these. Like, just okay.
It seems like that thing they had to have a state of play for this many announcements, and like they're like, oh, we'll theme it on or Japanese studios, and that was it. Like, there's nothing outstanding here. Like, Exoprimal was literally the biggest thing out of that.
And that's very sad to say.
I looked at
And it's a game that we didn't get a whole lot of. Yeah.
I looked at like Direfield. I'm like, I could just replay Fire Emblem Three Houses right now.
Yeah,
I mean-
and the Valkyrie one looks really bad.
We sort of forgot this state of play even happened when we were looking at the things for the show. Like, I was like, oh yeah, there was that Japanese state of play. What was in that? And I couldn't think of what was actually in it because it had escaped my mind that much. Like, there just was nothing stand outish of this. It was just
And I
rough.
responded that going, I can't even remember what fucking happened.
No, honestly, because like nothing stood out. So you were like, what? What did they announce? And I think that's not a good place to leave a state of play. I would argue.
Look, Tri-Ace is making the new Star Ocean that's coming out, and that looks better than fucking the new Valkyria, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't even like Star Ocean. It's just
So
diet Tales.
So I'm gonna read everything because there were a couple of interesting things at State of Play, but
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
quick
so-
shit.
Oh yeah.
we had Exo Primal, which we've spoken about, Ghostwire Tokyo, which as of right now I'm seeing a lot of reviews give it kind of like a 7.5 out of 10.
It's middling. Like
So
I think,
it
Mid.
still looks interesting, but I want to see more.
well, like
of
it looks good from what I've seen, but people like the gameplay is what actually lets it
Yeah.
down. But the settings, are
which is
amazing.
unfortunate.
So,
Forspoken looks interesting. It's something I would actually like consider playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forspoken looks
It looks
cool.
amazing.
Forspoken is one of the ones I want more of.
Gundam Evolution is, you know what? It actually does look really interesting, and we're getting a Western release for it. There was the Cowabunga collection for TMNT, which has, I think it's something like, how many of it? 13 games, all in one. Gigabash is
I can't play old games like that anymore, though. That's part of my problem.
Gigabash looks pretty interesting, but it's a kind of game where I would kind of just play it with other people. Like I can't imagine myself sitting down
Yeah.
to play Gigabash on my own.
You don't want to sit down and grind that.
Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure gets a
Hold up,
another
hold
fighting
up.
game.
Hold up, Josh. Me and you were playing that. I forgot about
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, we will.
Yeah,
we will.
I
Don't
forgot about that.
Trek to Yomi, which I think is already out on PC. Which, to be fair, I do want to play it, but I mean, it is what it is. Returnal gets a co-op update and an expansion apparently, which is pretty interesting, right? Which I don't mind, but at the same time, it's not a new game.
Die together.
Yeah. Square Enix announced Diofield. You know, I mean, we already spoke about that. And Valkyrie Elysium, which, I'm sorry, as someone who doesn't play a lot of JRPGs, to see another 2 JRPGs back to back, where they're both in this kind of high fantasy setting, I'm not interested, personally.
Dude, it wasn't even that. Like, both of them just didn't look interesting.
They look generic as fuck.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
They look like what?
Absolutely, they look.
You know what they look like, Shabs? They look like a JRPGs as described by you.
yeah, Shabs. Like when I was like chatting with you in like our little group chat and everything.
Yeah, and
I was shit staring. I was basically doing a shit stare,
Yeah.
pretending I was pissed.
But like we joked, and I'm like, I don't understand why like a lot of JRPGs are just set in fantasy. Like, I feel like if you took a JRPG and you set it in a completely different setting, that alone would make it stand out, and that should not be the case.
Okay, so what you're saying is go play Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Honestly, Yakuza Like a Dragon is probably one of the most interesting JRPGs I can think of off the top of my head. As someone who doesn't play JRPGs,
It's really cool.
if you were to convince me to play, a JRPG, and you showed me Valkyria Chronicles, Ys 9, and fucking, I don't know, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and then you showed me Yakuza Like a Dragon, I would play the fuck out of Like a Dragon.
You wanna know what makes Like a Dragon stand out of all of them?
What?
The protagonist is like 40.
40-year-old, yeah, 40-year-old protagonist.
Whereas every single JRPG, which my best mate, shout out to you, Joel, says that the biggest problem with JRPGs is the lack of like protagonist variety. All of them are like 15, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. They fixed that with Nier, and then they went back.
Yeah. Like, I know the Japanese tend to romanticize youth, but I don't know. Adults are pretty lit.
Adults are pretty lit.
Adults.
Is that
yeah,
an
you heard it
actual
here
quote
first,
from
fellas.
this podcast?
That can we put that in big bold
Ladies and
writing?
gentlemen,
Adults
when
are
I
lit.
first piece of merch.
Yeah, can we have that on a shirt? I would totally wear that.
But like, I will be
Fuck out.
honest. Like the same way a lot of people say, like, oh, I can't tell the difference between COD every year, like from the old COD to the new COD.
I mean, I can't.
I legitimately can't. Like, if you took 3 JRPGs and put screenshots near them, like, for the most part, they're hard to tell apart to someone who doesn't play JRPGs. There are a few that stand out. We've already mentioned Like a Dragon. The other one that I think...
Persona 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, the other one that really stands out to me is Persona. Persona 5 in particular.
Dragon Quest, which doesn't look anything like anything else.
Final Fantasy VII seems to be one of the more unique ones. Everyone says it's generic, but if you think about it, Final Fantasy...
Is it generic if it's the thing
I
that
think it's
everyone
just generic
knows
because
JRPGs
it's
for?
the JRPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's the-
is it generic or is it just like the example?
It's the codifier.
I think it's the example. It's the one everyone.
But no, I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with Amph's mate in the sense that I'm sick of JRPGs being about, like, fucking high schoolers who have to save the world from evil. Like, seriously, like, make a JRPG protagonist 70. What's the problem? Like, just do it. And, like, it's all, like, I just...
Alright, I'm gonna show you Metaton.
Metaton?
It is an RPG with about Christian theology where you play like a 40-year-old angel.
For a second,
That's still
I
so
thought you were going to
JRPG,
say where
though.
you
Oh
play
my
as
God.
Jesus.
Dude, you want to get fucking what? Do you need me to find one where you play as Jesus? It won't be that
I was
hard.
gonna say that's,
yeah.
It's like you have to perform miracles and it's RNG whether they actually happen.
That would be so
Actually,
sad.
hang on.
Roll
No,
a
no,
dice.
no. There is a JRPG where you play as a guy who's 30. He doesn't say any melodramatic shit. And he also says the first F word in the series.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's what you're playing, Josh.
Oh, dude, I gotta admit, I am loving Jack Garland because he could not give a less of a shit about what the story is saying to him.
Yeah, no.
They're telling him about like a prophecy and a time loop where he'll eventually become like the very thing he's trying to hunt, and he couldn't give less of a shit. All he heard was the word chaos real, and he was happy.
Yeah, the fucking main protagonist of Strangers of Paradise.
It's kind of great.
Freaking the villain's all like, oh, I am like the most evil thing possible. I'm gonna destroy it. And he's like, yeah, now shut the fuck up. I'm gonna punch you in the face now.
Didn't ask plus not chaos plus ratio.
I'm just like, this guy does not like care about what's going on.
It's just so funny.
Alright, let's
Alright,
move us on.
I think it's time to move us on.
Yeah, let's go on to an incredibly depressing subject.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know. So Moon Studio, reports from some of the devs there that it's a great place to work because both founders have been accused of bullying, crunch, and very inappropriate jokes. And basically, it's horrible to work for them. It feels like this happens every week. We have a new studio that's been accused of this, and it's just like this is really
It's
bad.
It's happening too frequently.
Yeah, like we have to bring this up like every podcast because it keeps happening, and it's like it's not even like these big AAA studios. It's like smaller studios as well are having these problems. Like,
Yeah, so Thomas Mahler, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, would
Sounds right.
criticize developers in front of the rest of the team, saying their work looked like shit, made him want to vomit, or was the product of, and I quote, failed abortions.
Oh god.
Like,
yeah,
Ooh, I'm going to be honest here. In the words of a great philosopher, that's not very cash money.
Yeah. Actually, Shards, you
Correct.
shouldn't feel bad for pronouncing his name wrong. Could call him Malamars.
Yeah, can you pronounce it as incorrectly as
Yeah,
possible?
Tom Malamars.
Two Malamers.
So they did say, like, the devs that were sourced out for this did say it was just the founders. Like, they found the rest of the team were fine. It was just the founders themselves were doing this. But I'm just like,
Also, the ones that you can't get rid of. That's fantastic.
yeah, you know, the execs. So I think that will be a interesting
can I
place
just,
of
can
where
I just
that
say,
ends
do you
up.
know why this story
Yeah.
became big? It became big because this was the reason that Microsoft stopped working with them. They made Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And then Microsoft were just like, listen, you're literally too toxic, we don't want to work with you anymore. This is fucked.
That's horrible, because those
That's,
two games are fantastic.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Like, you know, people were saying that about Blizzard when they came out with that stuff, and, you know, the companies would be reevaluating their relationships. And the reason why they didn't all immediately cancel on that is because Blizzard at the time had very, you know, Blizzard makes lots of money, and so everyone was going to want their
Yeah,
products.
Blizzard makes $1.
When you've only made one type of game, your studio gets a bad rap. It's very hard to come back from.
Like the worst thing is like
Yeah.
just that it's the execs, it's the founders. So unless someone buys them out, and in which case the founders would get a fuck ton of money anyway. Like unless something
Yeah.
happens, then it's difficult. As long as the two founders are attached to that studio, it's gonna be, you know, unfortunately this might continue.
I think we'll see what happens from here. But like, if all the staff are basically reporting that, I don't know if how long you can really remain like that in charge before something happens. Yeah, not ideal. And I think the industry as a whole needs to look at itself, because this is happening far too often. It's not the only industry that this is happening in. It's just that obviously we pay attention to this stuff a lot, so we see it a lot when it comes out, and it's not great.
Yeah.
Like to see better, do better.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like one of us said earlier, where it feels like every fucking time we record, there's news about a studio that's a complete shithole to work for. And you know, with all due respect, I'm honestly over talking about this topic, and I'm sure that and I'm sure a lot of people in the game industry are sick of working at places like this. So yeah.
But again, we try and call it out because we want people to know about it. But yeah, at the same time, it's going to get taxing on people, and we got to hold people to account.
Like
so.
the biggest problem is, and I'm sure I've brought this up in a previous episode, is that the industry has such a high turnover rate, and shit like this is why. Like, there are people that have legitimately walked away from this industry, not because they're not talented, not because they couldn't cut it or anything, just because they've realized, holy shit, a lot of these big companies suck to work for.
Yeah.
Like, it's at a point now where it almost feels like they're competing to see who could be the worst. We brought up on a previous podcast that Ubisoft HR kind of did like a survey type thing where they called up a bunch of their workers. They were like, how could we improve? And when one worker responded with, well, pay us decently for starters and then get rid of the abusers, their response was, at least we're not Blizzard. And I'm sorry, but at least we're not Blizzard is not an acceptable response as to why your workplace is so shit.
No, please, stop invading me. I'm not Hitler.
Like, I honestly, I hate the fact that it feels like every podcast we have to talk about one of these studios being in a situation like this. And the worst thing is, normally we talk about like a big studio. Normally we talk about Ubisoft or EA, one of the big bad guys in the industry. But this is Moon Studios. Like, they're not huge. You know
They've made 2 games, and even they can't do it right. Like, it's not like they've got these massive investors to keep.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
happy
not like they're
whatever.
like running
It's just,
10 projects.
It's just the founders are.
I would honestly go as far as to say that this is probably the most widespread issue in the industry. Like,
Yeah, it really
definitely
seems like
feels
it.
like it.
It sounds like they made 2 bangers and then it got to their heads.
I got my first role.
Well, I don't even know it's that, to be honest. I feel like it might just be, hey, Weaver Studio, we're really cool, look at us. But,
Yeah, like my first
there's-
role in the gaming industry, I like worked for free for 3 months, and I was like, man, this sucks, but at least I like the people I work with. And can I just say, if you're young and coming into the industry, right, and your first experience
Don't do that.
is a place where you're treated like shit and you're abused and things like that, I don't blame you for walking away. Like,
Yeah, it's not hard to see why the industry has some high.
the
Dropout
saddest
rate.
part of all this is it's an attractive industry. A lot of people grow up wanting to be part of this industry when they're older because gaming is such a widespread hobby. And the unfortunate thing is, you know, if you were to leave the industry, there's always going to be someone ready to, like, some fresh face ready to jump in and take your place.
Yeah, it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry. You know?
So I'm going to say something, right? Don't worry about boycotts, right? I always hear this whenever, like, you always see it whenever a studio, you know, is bad. Everyone's like, oh, boycott, they go, fuck that. What you should be doing is drawing attention to it. Make the investors aware that you fucking hate them. Hit them where it hurts.
I don't stand for this.
Absolutely. You know what the best thing that happened with the whole Blizzard situation? Every week there were stories coming out. Things were getting worse and worse. You know what the best thing the employees at Blizzard did? They took legal action. That scared the fuck out of the execs. That scared the shit out of the investors. Because suddenly, this money-making machine, all the little people at the bottom that you saw as dollar signs, they're now taking you to court. And the best part is, there was so much evidence, there's still so much evidence stacked up against Blizzard that it became such a serious threat for them. Now, it's still ongoing, and the idea of unionizing and the investigation as to whether Blizzard's trying to stop the unionizing, which, let's be honest, they are. That's still ongoing, so we don't have, like, a definitive end for it. But use that as an example of what you should do. At Ubisoft, we mentioned the great exodus on a previous podcast, where so many of their workers were just so fucking fed up that they walked. And that's why HR was calling around saying, yeah, what would it take for you to stay? That's not something you should have to call up the majority of your workers and ask them. But anyway, do you mind if we move on from this topic before we go even further down this rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the super exciting thing that happened?
Yes. CD Projekt Red have announced a new Witcher game is in development. On Jack's notes it says Witcher 4 announcement, but I actually saw today one of CD Projekt Red's PR guys strictly say we have not announced The Witcher 4, but it is a new Witcher game.
I was going to ask, is it The Witcher 4?
People were going to call it Witcher 4 regardless.
For sure. But
yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, by a lot of people in the community, is literally just called Horizon 2.
Yeah.
But hear me out.
Because when you make a long-ass title,
You mean
or
Forbidden
you don't know the
Horizon.
actual name, people will put their whole...
Hear me out, though. It's probably a Witcher 0.
can you imagine if it's how Geralt became a Witcher?
Geralt?
Geralt.
That's how you say his name, Geralt. Look, I call him Gerald to piss people off, but
Are you calling Geralt to piss people off?
No, isn't that Geralt?
It's Geralt.
It's
Same
Geralt.
fucking
Geralt.
thing.
It's not.
No, it's not!
Anyway.
I'm gonna call him Geralt.
Charbel, it's not fucking the same thing.
Anyway.
So they announced a new Witcher.
There's not
game.
much to say about it, other than they've said it's kicking off a new saga, which is what makes people think that it's not going to be our Silverhead friend, however you want.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a prequel, Anf.
But I reckon it is. It's going to be
I
a
don't think
prequel.
it's prequel.
Because if they said it's a new saga, right? I meant prequel, like
I feel like a new saga doesn't go backwards.
like
Just
I reckon it'll follow a new protagonist.
What if it's The Witcher, but it's modern day and they have guns?
I would play the fuck out of that.
but-
Is this what
But
we come to?
hear me out from this though. Like back, like
Alright.
you have like have you seen like Nightmare of the Wolf, which is set with Vesemir, right? This was back when the witches were like prevalent, they were like common, like because in Geralt's time the witches are like dying out mostly. There's not many of them left. But if you go back in time in the Witcher timeline, they're basically like the Jedi Order. They're everywhere.
Anf, I'm just saying, Ghostwire Poland.
Ghostwire Poland.
Okay. We're running out of time, so I want to move us on as well, and I'm sure Jack will appreciate this.
It's interesting.
So we had good news with The Witcher, now back to bad news. Gran Turismo 7 is being review bombed on Metacritic, and they absolutely deserve it. So, look,
Now, Sharps, why do they deserve
Here's
it?
the thing.
It's really funny.
The first PS2 game I ever owned is Gran Turismo 3, right? I have a special place in my heart for the series. I've grown up on PlayStation my whole life, but I was really annoyed with what they did. So I haven't picked up GT7 yet. I've just had so much shit to play, and I've been working heaps. But what they did was, when Gran Turismo 7 came out, it had microtransactions. And most people were okay with it because they said, oh, you know what, you earn a decent amount from the game anyway. And Gran Turismo is a game where they want you to kind of take pride in what you earn. Like, they don't want to just throw cars at you like, say, Forza Horizon, where, you know, you get a...
Zero Dawn.
Where you get a spin, where you spin a wheel and it's like, oh, here's your new Ferrari. They want you to, like, kind of almost... I won't say grind it out, but they want you to seriously earn your cars. And everyone...
I mean, this series has always been like that.
And so what they did was, they looked at that and they must have said, oh, we're not making enough money. And then they nerfed how much money you make per race. I saw a calculation today where to own a McLaren F1, which is one of the highest, like, most expensive cars in the game, and, you know, for good reason, someone calculated it would take 28 days of game time. And that is insane.
That's a lot.
Not playing the game for an hour for 28 days. No, like 28 days worth of game time, right? And I hate the way people have been defending it, especially. I saw
How do you defend that?
two defenses that annoyed me. One was, yeah, dude, just do the endurance races while you sleep. Which, let the game play itself while you sleep is not a good way to promote any game, okay? Let's fucking get that out of the way.
It plays itself.
And the other thing was...
It's a mobile game.
And the other thing was, this was just as bad, if not worse. They go, yeah, but think about it like this. We've probably got years before Gran Turismo 8 comes out, so you can earn a heap through them. And
What?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
Just waiting for the next installment is
That
not a good
not
reason to...
fucking on. I am sorry, but can you imagine, right, you buy this game, and we say, okay, well, there's a heap of content, but if you want to get all the good shit, you're going to have to replay a lot of that content multiple times. But it's okay, because we're going to take years to develop the fucking sequel.
We're so knee deep into fucking
Like
the microtransactions and shit that people are defending this sort of thing.
No, but like...
But
it's not
people
even
just
that.
don't
It's
know
not
how
even
to
that. But like,
deal with
think
it
about
anymore.
it like this. Let's say Gran Turismo 8 takes 6 years, which I actually think it might take even longer. Because they rarely, like, especially in the last couple generations, they're very picky on when they release on multiple games on one generation. So let's say it takes 6 years. How many racing games do you think come out in 6 years?
Too many.
There's a heap.
More than you can
It's
actually
actually a
play.
really, really good genre in terms of getting games out every year. But here's the thing. Most people don't just play racing games. Like, most people who bought a PS5 probably bought it for more than just Gran Turismo. Maybe they bought it for Returnal. Maybe they bought it for Spider-Man. Maybe they bought it for Ratchet and Clank. Like, there's so much on offer in the next 6 years that we don't even know. And there's so
Like,
much
racing
that
is
can
more of a
create.
niche market. Like, it's not your number one game.
Exactly.
Really.
And not just that, but most people that are playing games, like, realistically, they have other commitments to it. Whether you go to school, whether you have a job, whether you volunteer or something. Like, we have things that take up our time. You know, and I think it's ridiculous when games don't respect players' time. Now...
Yeah, it's a
Preach
total
that,
lack of respect.
honestly.
Now, no one else here plays racing games, at least as seriously as I do, so I don't think any of you have anything major to add, right? Oh,
Nothing
No,
major.
nothing
other
major.
oh wait,
than,
there's one last thing I want to add.
Did you actually say the review score?
Yeah. So, when I looked it up earlier today, it was at 2.1. I looked it up just before this podcast was being recorded. And it is at 1.7.
User score.
Yeah, user score. The Metacritic's at 87. I believe that's just based on like reviews and that. So it's also worth noting that a lot of those reviews came from pre-release. Like,
And pre the money nerfs.
yeah. So it went from you can legitimately say people went from an 87 to a 1.7. Not very cash money.
Not very.
Yeah, not cash money.
I think we have like two things from this podcast we can really take away. Gran Turismo is not cash money, and adults are lit.
We got some new catchphrases on this podcast now.
Dude, I love adults are lit
Now, we
so
have a
much.
discussion top. Oh wait, one last thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but it also got announced today, I believe, or yesterday, that Sony was acquiring Haven Studios. If you're wondering what Haven Studios is, you're not alone, because they haven't released the game, so a lot of people have never heard of them. But they're led by Jade Raymond, who was I believe, an executive producer on a couple of Assassin's Creeds, as well as Star Wars Battlefront 2
and
Watch Dogs. Moving on.
She knows the stuff.
Moving on.
Moving
Jack,
on.
Do you want to introduce our discussion topic?
Yeah, so this is a little discussion topic. We'd probably gonna cut it shorter than we'd like, but we'll see how we go. So, Elden Ring, many games, it does some balance changes after, sees what's out in the wild and whatnot. But it balances things when a lot of the gameplay is solely focused, really. Like, PvP is very niche on nerfing stuff that was seemingly too powerful when it's just players versus AI or PvE for another term. And I just wonder what we think about when games decide to do these big major changes in games when it's literally a PvE focused game, other than fixing a bug where maybe you one-shot something is different, as opposed to this is your really powerful build. We've now halved your power because you were too powerful.
Jack, I need to say something about this topic, and I think we can all agree that it's not very cash money of them to do this.
So we know where Josh falls on this. Josh is not a fan of the Elden Ring 1.03 patch.
Okay, I have a very strong opinion, and this is my hot take. I don't know how this is going to go over, but Elden Ring shouldn't have fucking PvP at all. The fact that it is in there is an active detraction to my enjoyment of that game.
As someone that's played Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne and a couple of the other From Software games, never interacted with the PvP and don't feel the need to. It's not... I know it's a big thing on YouTube with some invaders and whatnot, but it's not something I think the series is...
It's got a pretty active community.
Every time that we received those fucking finger things, it was just disappointing and completely worthless. Change what they are for single player, because it's not worth it. If you don't have PSN Plus, it prompts you every time you open the game to fucking get it.
That's annoying.
That's a very annoying, yeah.
And it's just like, what does it do? Does it improve your gameplay experience having Chad Thundercock come in and smack the shit out of you? Do you feel good about yourself now?
Like, I don't mind the PvP in, like, Souls and, like, the whole invasions thing. But at the same time, it should be, like, a separate thing. Like, I
think it's dangerous to be nerfing players' power in games, especially like this, where it's all about build crafting.
Yeah.
They literally nerfed the Mimic tier. And now, the spoilers. The Mimic tier just makes a copy of yourself.
You level it to plus 10.
It does.
And
yeah. If I had to hear I Am Melina, Blade of Malika one more time, I would have gone insane. It's supposed to be strong. It's really hard to get. You can only get that thing if you go through a fucking secret quest line. You can miss it entirely. It's supposed to be like, it's the best tier. Of course it is. It's the one that makes a duplicate of yourself. Why would you nerf that?
yeah. They also nerfed, like, a sword that lets you shoot out flames and shoot out a laser beam. But apparently that laser beam was able to, like, if you leveled yourself well enough, you could one-shot bosses with that. But
see, I don't mind.
I saw a bit of that with Elden Ring just from clips, and people were using whole different things to one-shot bosses. I think part of... I don't know if I'm going to call this a problem or whatnot, but Elden Ring just has so many bosses that if your fifth boss you might struggle with, the time you've been 60 other bosses, you're pretty powerful, so you might one-shot that other boss who just didn't... Like, the game's not dynamic that it levels everything with you, it's just... It's
Yeah.
at that
Thank
power.
God.
You can come back later and you'll probably kick its butt.
Yeah, I feel like Elden Ring out of all the Souls games, except for Sekiro, because that's like not an RPG.
No, that is not enough.
Elden Ring is the one game, in my opinion, in the Souls series that actually encourages you to play it how you want.
Oh, Elden Ring, absolutely.
Yeah, so why would you nerf people's ability to do that?
It's had the biggest build crafting of any of the series.
Yeah, like you could
Easily.
you could literally like play like I guess a mage / sword user, right? And the game wouldn't fucking punish you for it. You could play a strength build and the game wouldn't punish you for it.
Like a spell sword, or you could go... I know one of the big ones people love doing is katana, because there's katanas. And
It's fucking sick.
You play as a ninja? Of course, go ahead.
Yeah,
And like,
It's just-
they even
it's just
improved stealth in
annoying.
this one.
It's annoying because it's like, why would you nerf something in a single player game unless it's, like Jack said, unless it's like a major problem? Like,
So-
I don't mind them nerfing something if it's like, oh yeah, if you grab this one item, you can cheese the game. Like, that's not fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
not
it's
that's not the
But
case.
if you have to make like a very specific build and you're level 300 and you have 120 intelligence and you use this spell that scales and in this specific armor set and then you one-shot some bosses, that doesn't seem like a problem to me.
That seems like in some ways you weren't
Yeah.
that powerful.
There was this shield
Yeah.
in the game that if you set yourself on fire, well, there's also okay. Start from the beginning. So this shield is basically like a reflector, right? So you get hit with it,
Oh, yeah?
and it just shoots like a massive blast. But it back before the patch, it was like every damage would reflect. So if you set yourself on fire and then use this shield, you essentially got a shotgun. And
Yeah, but that seems just funny.
and
I wouldn't fix
and
that.
I didn't think that needed fixing. That was like genius. Like whoever came up
Yeah.
with that build, props to you, man. That was like the coolest shit. And now they patched it out. I'm like, man, why?
But out of a game sense, with things like this, do you think is the idea to try and encourage build diversity, or is it just the
No, I think that
players
it's
aren't
either
playing as
it
we
was
want?
I think it was a multiplayer problem or a dev butthurt problem.
Okay.
Where they saw, because I've had this, where you see them beat a thing that you said was hard really easily, so you fuck with that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the
Or
other games that,
in multiplayer, it's just like they just probably looked at it and went, "Oh, it's too good." I don't
mean,
do like the people complain
PvP
about it,
is
so we'll
what
nerf
it
it.
is, but
I reckon it's
I know
PvP.
one of the other games that had this problem, and keeps topical because they're about to have this problem because it's how the series has always gone, is Borderlands. So Wonderland's coming out this week. They're going to have this problem and stuff's going to get nerfed because this is what Borderlands has always done. There's some stuff that, hey, because no amount of QA will prepare you for what the player can do because there is many more hours. Someone finds one thing, someone else looks at that thing, finds out how to break it, change it, whatever. So your QA will not prepare you for stuff. So there might be some changes or bug fixing especially is needed. So Wonderlands is going to go through this where there'll be stuff that's too good that they might rein back. And it's a mostly PvE game. PvP is literally there for having a laugh with your mates. From memory, you don't even lose money or anything, so whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, at some point, why am I playing the PvE game? Go kill stuff and get powerful and have fun. So, and if I choose to play it in a way where I am dominating everything, is that part of my choice? Like, if I want to make it harder, I could go use a different build.
Yeah, like precisely. Like, if the game isn't actively punishing you to do these certain things, why should the developers punish you in general for that?
And I know a lot of the time they hit back on, or don't nerf it, is buff it. That can work. Then you get power creep, and power creep's a whole other issue that games can face where suddenly
Yeah, but it's also
they're too
PvE.
powerful. Yeah,
Like, at some point you got to be like, yeah, some stuff can just be better.
Yeah.
Not
I mean-
everything has to be like the most balanced. If a spell build is really that great, then it's just the easy option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it always felt
players can-
strange
you
in a
can-
game like Borderlands, where it's like literally that game is about being absolutely either broken or insane with explosions
Isn't-
on the screen. So
Isn't Borderlands about picking up one random gun that you found off Jickle McJick that you killed in level 2, and it's a gun that'll destroy the rest of the game?
it's
it's
like
RNG,
that, but
the
then
best thing ever.
but the difference is with Borderlands is then by level 13. That gun's no good because you just picked up another gun that does explosions, and you're like, yes, I want this gun. And so, it's like, isn't that part of the power fantasy that you go and find something
I was
else?
going to say, Borderlands isn't balanced around anything. It's
No,
just like,
it's strange in a game like Borderlands.
you
It
got a
never
good
made
gun,
sense to
here's
me.
a better gun.
Yeah.
Um,
One that does explosions.
I don't know.
like,
I-
like the only
Like, I understand at some point of, like, you want the game to be balanced and you want everyone to feel like their playstyle can work. But is there also a point of chasing perfection will just lead you into a deep, dark path?
like the only place I can ever expect balance to be a proper thing is like a fighting game, right? So they change up characters like stuff willy nilly every single time because
I mean, but the idea of that is PvP, though.
Yeah, but the idea of a fighting game, F, is that the main game mode of, like, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat is multiplayer.
Yeah, and that's
There is a story mode, but that's not really what people buy those games for 90% of the time.
yeah, and
Like, when we all buy a fighting game, do we buy it because we really want to learn the Guilty Gear lore, or because we want to play with our friends?
pretty much the friends. I haven't even gone through Tekken 7's story.
Exactly. It's like, so it makes sense that they would want to continuously tweak and balance out characters because they want to make sure that everyone has like a roughly equal standing. Some characters are a little bit easy to use at first than others, but you got to make sure that everything is viable except for Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to multiplayer RPGs and all that, I can also understand it there as well because you've got people building going to crazy levels and all that shit like an MMO, right? Like I'm gonna imagine
Yeah.
that Final Fantasy 14 gets fucking patched every single day because of this.
Look, this is what I'm saying. If your main game mode is multiplayer, then of course you would want balancing patches nearly continuously because you want to make sure everyone is having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, it's no fun when one thing is just the best and you have to play with that thing.
I think it's one of those things that's hard to manage in games. It's just like, how do you make everything feel good without everything being overpowered? And it's this fine balance that
Yeah.
you have to try and make, and it is chasing perfection, but it's also just chasing... It's chasing, the feel of the game. Like, you want everyone to have their time in the sun.
Look, Jack, it's like the old saying, like, chasing perfection is, impossible, but that doesn't mean it's not worth the chase.
Yeah.
And I can sort of see what they're trying to do with Elden Ring, but with an open world RPG that's difficult like Elden Ring, I don't really want anything balanced. It's just people.
I think it is strange in a game like Elden Ring that's literally about difficulty of let's go nerf something that people did find. One of the great things about Elden Ring is the fact that it's been very approachable because it's not linear like some of the other games where it's you need to kill this boss to progress, so
Yeah, you
have
can
fun.
go somewhere else.
And
have fun farming for 3 hours.
let
No, just skip them. Come to kick their ass later.
but let's be let's be real. I had a stroke then.
Please don't.
With Elden Ring, with the current patch notes, all it serves is the PvP bros, and
Yeah, that's the thing.
and
It's
and the only weapon people are using is freaking Moonveil anyway. So what's the point? They haven't even nerfed Moonveil. I checked the patch notes. There's no nerf for Moonveil at all, and that thing does stagger, instant stagger if you build right enough.
We're just saying, it's catering to a PvP audience in a game that is primarily PvE is really stupid and really upsetting. Especially if, the only way that people have been able to beat some of the bosses is by cheesing them, because they are legitimately incredibly difficult, and it would take a normal person just won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Also, it's worth mentioning, you nerf one thing, people are going to find the next best thing.
Yeah. I think that's...
And then what?
Endless. This has happened. Anyone hadn't noticed, I'm really a big Destiny guy. You nerf one thing, it's just something else will just rise to the top of the meta, so it's like the balance is not gonna, like, there will not always be one top thing. People are gonna find, gamers love to find the best thing or the most efficient way to do something.
And
they're always going to. You can't stop.
And that's exactly what happened.
stop.
That's exactly what happened in Elden Ring. Everyone switched to like a completely different katana that does like, I forgot what it was, but it was another bloody slash sort of.
Yeah, it was
and what I
insane
found
bleed.
a lot of the time, they'll find something else that was actually more powerful.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you idiot, you opened the floodgate. Just buff other things. If it's a PvE game, just buff other things so it's in line with the most powerful things. Like, oh, mages have like this absolutely amazing staff or sword or whatever, and they can like do this beam.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just buff a couple of strength weapons and dex weapons so they have like an equal to it.
And if there's no variety in people using certain weapons, like everyone's using the one weapon, that's because it's probably like just released, right? So later on down the line, everyone's gonna have variety.
And you're still gonna have that stupid fucker who plays like the deprived and uses the club and beats the final boss.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay? I've already watched videos of people like not wearing armor with the club beating some of the hardest bosses without getting hit. You can't balance it around those fucks.
Already, yeah. It's... I thought it was an interesting topic to bring up and see how everyone felt. Yeah, we'll see. I guarantee you Wonderlands is going to have these problems. Guarantee.
Also, just a quick side note, and this is very off topic, but I also think it's just an interesting thing to end off with. Dragalia Lost is announced that it's going to pretty much discontinue entirely, and people are losing their minds over it.
People are saying it's the Persona 5 curse because I collaborated with it.
Yeah. No, but it's like, it is an interesting topic of like, the fact that mobile games just get erased from existence and you have no digital media rights.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this has been the Safe Bar Podcast.
Yes, it has. We've gone long, but I think had some good discussion and some questionable discussion at the start. That's alright. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Alright.
Signing off.
Signing off.
Signing off.
Adults are lit.